Now, the big question is, does this movie hate men? Short answer is no. This movie hates everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's your one, MamaMichaela, here to talk about another film. Today, we are discussing Promising Young Woman, which is the debut film of actress, writer, producer, and director Emerald Fennel. It's punchy, it's angry, yet it's full of just a candy-colored, coded fun, dark humor, and femininity. Our main character, Cassie, is out for vengeance inspired by an event that happened to her while she was in medical school 7 years prior. We don't know what that event is yet, but whatever it was, it caused her to drop out. My guess from the trailer of the film was that she was assaulted, but it's not that easy, and we'll get into that. Cassie is living at home and working in a coffee shop and seems to have no passion or sense of direction in her life other than going out every weekend, acting blackout drunk, and luring men into showing themselves that they're not the nice guys that they think they are.
What are you doing?
It's okay, hey, you're safe.
What are you doing? Hey, I said, what are you doing?
She does not harm anybody, physically anyway. She certainly does get her point across, though, by catching men who see a girl falling over drunk, unable to speak or to walk, and take her home to their home to make her safe, when really they just have the intent to take advantage of her. Now, this is not disputable because it is seen in the first 10 minutes of the film. But Cassie doesn't aim to just teach men a lesson. Oh, nay, nay, nay. Nay, 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 I say. It turns out that Cassie is trying to get justice for her lifelong friend, Nina, who was the one who was assaulted while they were at medical school. Nina was at a party when the event happened, and Cassie was not with her. Cassie now feels that it is her duty to get revenge on those who committed the act, idly stood by, or denied the act altogether as a way of asking for forgiveness from Nina for not being there for her to protect her. Just to say it again, and for the people in the back, this movie does not hate men. That's not the point. Not everything is about men. It really doesn't hate them. I promise. And we're going to dissect it now. A Times review stated that, and I quote, Cassie's motivation is sincere but also unfocused. She finds men who seem perhaps okay and then coaxes out their worst impulses to prove to herself and to us that all men are terrible. End quote. This writer continues with Cassie's character, and I quote, flirting with the idea that it is okay to throw innocent women under the bus as long as the goal is to properly punish bad men. End quote. This is not the intended takeaway, and it's certainly not what I took away from it. So, first, this movie is showing true human nature by calling everyone out on their BS when it comes to instances of assault. This statement from the Time magazine implies that Cassie pretending to be blackout drunk to test men is worse than these nice guys taking her home with the intention to take advantage of her. And again, this is non-disputable because this is an instance that happens within the first 10 minutes of the film. In the one sentence that I have quoted has said volumes about the privilege that this movie is trying to speak out about. That statement is that we make passes for men and vilify women when it comes to preserving the reputation of an individual man or the group of them.
It's every guy's worst nightmare getting accused like that.
Can you guess what every woman's worst nightmare is?
Now, Cassie is not a role model. Do not misunderstand me. She takes her actions to a completely different level that is not safe and is not kind. However, in the second quoted statement, and I quote again, it's okay to throw innocent women under the bus as long as the goal is to properly punish bad men, end quote, is a claim that seems out of proportion. Cassie never hurts anyone. She scares the hell out of them, But that's not throwing anyone under the bus who has not had a part to play in Nina's assault, whether it be during or after it happened. We live in a world where assault doesn't matter to most people until they're affected themselves or till it affects a loved one of theirs, which can be seen with Connie Britton's character, Dean Walker. Walker was the dean of the college when Nina was assaulted. However, she does not remember Nina. She does, however, remember her attacker and actually speaks fondly of him, saying that he just left the college as he gave a speech to some classes. When Cassie brings up the report that was filed against the attacker, Dean Walker states that she had to give the boy the benefit of the doubt and that she's sure she did everything she could at the time. Cassie calls her out on her hypocrisy, though. She reveals to the dean that she just picked her daughter up at school a few hours earlier and that she left her with a group of boys who happen to have a lot of alcohol lying around, but that she's sure she'll be okay because they seem like they would take really good care of her. Dean Walker, of course, goes into panicked mom mode, as anybody would, and Cassie just simmers in letting her get worked up before she tells the dean the truth. She did not leave her daughter with the group of boys. She left her daughter at a diner with the promise that her favorite boy band would show up. Cassie also states to the dean, "You're lucky I don't have as much faith in boys as you do." This calls out the dean as she freaks out under the thought that her own daughter could be in danger being left with a group of boys where there's alcohol around as well. Institutions like colleges and universities tend to sweep assault accusations under the rug for saving face. This makes sure that students keep enrolling and that donors keep giving money. I'm very positive that every college or university anywhere in the world would have at least one story like this to tell. Now, when it comes to the case of only caring about sexual assault if it happens to us, that's when we meet Cassie's old friend from college, Madison. Madison signifies that women are extremely conditioned to vilify each other. When the assault and reason for Cassie dropping out of school is brought up to her, Madison brushes it off with the classic "I don't make the rules" when it comes to not believing Nina's story. And to top it off, says it's like a boy crying wolf, since Nina had a reputation for sleeping around.
Circumstances. You remember what happened, right? Why I dropped out. I'm not the only one who didn't believe it.
It is absolutely heinous to think that women could enjoy sex and bodily autonomy just as much as a man. I know. Cassie makes sure that Madison eats her words by putting her into a fake situation where Madison believes she was taken to a hotel room by a random man who ended up taking advantage of her, as she was drunk off her ass from a liquid lunch. Yum yum. Cassie proceeds to then ignore her calls for weeks, maybe months, considering the timeline that seems to take place, and just lets that fear kind of sit with Madison while she tries to string the pieces together by herself. Again, I'm not justifying it, not a cool thing to do. Cassie is definitely not a role model. The film does make sure to show us that Cassie is not out to hurt anyone just for the sake of hurting them. All she wants is for those involved in Nina's assault to take responsibility for what happened. Oscar Molina.
I made a big mistake. It's not Oscar Molina, it's Alfred Molina, and I knew that. So when I say Oscar, I mean Alfred. I say Oscar, I mean Alfred.
Pops in with maybe 10 minutes of screen time and blows us away, honestly, blows us away with a phenomenal performance of a defense attorney who is so guilt-ridden by this case with Nina that he cannot sleep. He knows that what he did to Nina is wrong. And he's very open with Cassie about his guilt and how for every case dropped, there was a bonus. And how even one individual in the law firm had the job of solely looking for evidence to make sure that the victim looked bad. So all they had to do was go on social media and look at pictures of Nina, for instance, drinking or at a party just to make the jury turn against them. And that it worked really well in court. He even states that he has been waiting for this day. He has been waiting for someone to come and get justice for what he did. in making sure that Nina was broken down enough and bullied enough into dropping her case, even though a sexual assault was clearly committed, and he recognizes that. Now, Cassie is thrown off by this grief. She gets emotional. She starts to cry.
Alfred.
Melina is crying. He is saying that, you know, basically it's okay for her to want vengeance, and he apologizes, and Cassie forgives him and just tells him to go get some sleep. All she wants is for people to take responsibility for what they did to her friend. That's the whole goal of this movie. What I believe was meant to come out of this movie is not an us versus them, as in women versus men or men versus women. In my opinion, this is meant to instill right versus wrong, something that often gets overshadowed because, for whatever reason, there's this rhetoric that groups of people are always fighting each other, and we're losing a sense of what's right and what's wrong. This debut film of Fennel does not aim to vilify any sex as much as it does to vilify lack of responsibility and double standards. That was a lot of talking. I hope these points hit home for people, as I've been seeing a lot of articles, you know, kind of saying that this movie is too extreme, that it's, you know, chill out, blah, blah, blah. It's become very much like a way for people to attack feminism, when, again, that's very much an us versus them mentality, because essentially feminism is wanting equal rights for everybody, but whatever. But looking at it from this us versus them mentality is what is stopping our society from moving forward in more ways than one. It's not about attacking anyone, and it's not about targeting a certain group. It's all about making sure that people who were involved are held responsible for the actions that they take. And what's right is to believe people when they say that something has happened to them. Very rarely does that stuff get joked about. And you know what? We do have a process, and if it has to, it will go to court. But to keep somebody silent is wrong. Anyone can be sexually assaulted, and this is something that we need to take more seriously. This is a very different setup from what I'm used to. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm trying to make the sound quality better, so I thought sitting in front of the microphone would help. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please leave comments below if you'd like to discuss things. I do these videos like once a week, twice a week on films, and I'm trying to do more stuff about my adventures living in Ireland as an expat from the United States. So if you'd like to go ahead and see any of those things, please go ahead and give me a follow, a subscribe. We're on YouTube, we subscribe. Subscribe and like this video, and I'll probably see you in a few days. So thanks.